Hello everybody and welcome to the ninth video in our series of videos on ancient Rome. Today we are going to look at ancient Roman religious beliefs and how they changed or evolved over the course of the period we've been studying. As always, we begin with our learning outcomes. By the end of this presentation, you guys should know three of the Roman gods, you guys should know some of the Roman superstitions, and finally you guys should know how Rome became Christian. So the early Romans believed that spirits inhabited everything around them. The first citizens of Rome, they also believed that they were watched over by the spirits of their ancestors, and every family had a shrine at home to these spirits or household gods that were known as the Lares. The Romans thought that the spirits of their ancestors looked over them and they prayed to them every day. The shrine would be in a part of the house known as the Lararium. Soon, other than the Lares, some other gods were added to the Roman religion. So the first gods that were worshipped were Jupiter, who was the supreme god, and Mars, who was the god of war. And the fact that one of the first gods was the god of war really shows how much war was valued even in early Roman life. The next gods or goddesses to be added were Juno, who was the wife of Jupiter and also the goddess of marriage and childbirth, and Minerva, who was the daughter of Juno and Jupiter, and she was the goddess of wisdom. Another famous god added was Venus, the goddess of love. Um, the introduction of these gods happened at the time when Rome came under the influence of ancient Greek ideas, and a lot of the Greek gods were adopted by the Romans, but with a Roman twist. So, for example, Jupiter, the supreme god, has very similar qualities to Zeus. Neptune, the god of the sea, had also very similar qualities or characteristics to Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea, while Juno, who was the wife of Jupiter and goddess of marriage and childbirth, was very similar to Hera from ancient Greek. So Romans would pray to these different gods depending on what they wanted. So, for example, a soldier might pray to Mars for glory in battle, while somebody who wanted success in love might pray to a god like Venus. And in ancient Rome, the Pantheon was a temple to all the ancient gods. So you would go in there and you would pray to the god of your choice. And this is what it looks like. It's still standing today in Rome. Other gods included Nemesis, the god of revenge, Pax, the god of peace. Remember when we were looking at Constantine, we saw the word Pax Romana. When when we were looking at Augustus, we saw Pax Romana. Pax Romana meant the time of peace, and Pax was the god of peace. Also, we have the Furies, who were the goddesses of vengeance. The ancient Romans were also very superstitious. You see from this picture on the left, that is an animal being sliced open, and what they would do is to have these auguries who would read the insides or the entrails of an animal's, or people would look at the flight of the birds to interpret omens or messages from the gods to see what would be happening in their lives. They would perform these elaborate rituals to bring Roman victory in battle, and no declaration of war or major event was undertaken without the clear approval of the gods. A funny example of this was when the Roman commander Pulcher ignored the omens when the sacred chickens refused to eat the grain before a battle during the First Punic War. He obviously was defeated because he ignored the omen, and that was pretty much the end of his military career also. When people died in ancient Rome, the Romans engaged in a ritual involving Charon, just like the Greeks. The role of Charon, the ferryman, was to ferry the dead across the river Styx to the entrance of the underworld. Charon was expected to be paid for his work, and coins were placed in the mouths of the dead people at their funerals. Failure to pay the ferryman meant that the soul had to wander the shores for a period of around 100 years. Um, they also had professional grievers who would come to these funerals as well. You would pay someone to come and cry at your funeral. Um, However, we've looked at these polytheistic religions, but there were also two other religions that existed in the Roman Empire: Judaism and Christianity. And they both refused to participate in the worship of Roman gods and make sacrifices at their temples. They believed in one God. So polytheistic means to believe in a few gods, whereas monotheistic means to believe in one God. And the Jews and the Christians believed in only one God. The Jews were always a part of the empire, but they regularly suffered persecution, and there were many emperors who blamed them for any bad things that might happen in the empire. Christianity formed around 40 CE, and they were initially just seen as another part of Judaism, but soon they were seen as their own separate threat. We talked about how Nero enjoyed to use Christians as candles, so they were persecuted for a long time. However, their popularity really grew among women and slaves who also knew a little bit about being persecuted. Um, the Christians also famously were buried in catacombs, which is a system of underground tunnels that can still be visited in Rome today. However, their fortunes changed because in 312 CE, Emperor Constantine vowed to allow tolerance of Christianity if he won a famous battle at Milvian Bridge. He won the battle and he passed a thing called the Edict of Milan the next year, which declared religious toleration for Christianity. Constantine himself, he converted to Christianity on his deathbed. There's a famous story of him seeing the symbol of the cross in the sky, as you can see in the picture below. So he converted to Christianity on his deathbed, and Christianity soon became the official religion of the Roman Empire. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So by now you guys should be able to name at least 3 of the Roman gods. You guys should know some of the Roman superstitions, such as the reading of entrails, the looking at the flights of birds, the sacred chickens before declaring war, and finally you guys should know how Rome became Christian with Constantine the Great. That brings us to the end of our presentation. Hope you guys got something good from this video.